All right, this is an onboarding video for ATAK. I'm going to cover how to get the different versions of ATAK, what the differences are, and then also bringing in a cert to get on a server and some basic mapping elements. So first off, you got the get the APK. So you have the option to go to the Play Store, which is same as the Gov version, just minus a few of the plugins like TAC ICU that come with the Gov version. I recommend, if you are a Gov employee, to register at tac.gov so you can get all the plugins available to you and the full feature of ATAK. So once you have it downloaded on your device, you're just going to click on the icon and open it up. And you got to agree to the end user license. Has all the privacy info, just like every app. So it wants to know, when you can use the record audio, when you can share location, etc., etc. And let you know that, hey, it's how you want to share your location. I'm just going to select all the time. And for ATAK, it will only share your location while it's open. Click on ATAK to access the file structure. You'll want that for onboarding data that you're going to download on your device. And now it's getting started up. So there's a couple options right off the bat. It'll let you know how you want to configure your device. We're not going to choose any of these. We're going to start just from the import manager for simplicity. There are preference files that you can load that can manage the toolbar and other settings. But we're going to start fresh as a brand new user, never using ATAK before and editing some of this stuff. The one thing it'll ask you to do is disable the battery optimization, and there you go. You notice your call sign in the lower right. Right now my call sign is hog. You'll get an automatic call sign identified to you, and your location is this blue arrow. You notice you don't have a high fidelity map here. We're going to do that through this video and show you how to bring some of this map data. I'm not going to get into all the tools that ATAK has. I do have a Google Drive. The address is maps.tacserver.us, and then you can go there, and I have training tutorials on how to use all these tools. So first thing we're going to do is change your call sign. On the overflow menu, gets in the tools. I can click the stack the tools. We're going to go to settings. We're going to go to call signs and change my call sign. I'm in California. I'm going to use my max ID for my agency, CA-COR. I'm just going to put my last name, and this is my Note 20. And my Note 20, and hit done. My team, I'm going to keep Cyan, and my role is a team member. And I'm going to go back. All right, so first thing we're going to do, or the next thing we're going to do, is get on a server. So I've got some certificates on a folder on my Google Drive, and I have shared this with a number of people to get on certain servers. So if you've been shared a certificate before from someone through a Google Drive, this is how you would do it. I'm going to go to my home, open up Google Drive. I've got this folder here called OES TAC. And I've got a files folder, and in that I've got a folder called certs. This is a couple TAC server certs here. EGP server is the federal beta server, and the XRI TAC server, which is a Riverside County operational area kind of beta server for mutual aid. I'm going to go over here, hit the little 3 stacked dots on the right, and I'm going to download these onto my device. I'm going to hit back. Another server I'm going to do is this ADSB fire server, which is law and fire, aircraft, and EMS. Hit download. And another thing to download is this public safety air icons, which is a custom set of symbology I'll show you for the aircraft you download. So this is one way to grab a certificate for a server. Certainly not the only way. This is a general certificate, meaning it's not tied to one person. Other ways to set up ATAK servers are to put a directory in it with a username and password. The person signs into the web address through ATAK. It authenticates them and downloads a unique certificate for them. That way, if you wanted to get rid of a user, an employee retired, or left, you could just burn that cert. Right now, with these general certificates, if one got loose and there was someone on here I didn't want to be on here, I'd have to burn that cert and reissue this generic cert. Generic cert can be useful for like an incident. So if you've got an incident with a bunch of mutual aid partners, you don't have time to enroll them, you can just share that cert out and they can hop on. You can have that certificate expire at a certain time at the end of the incident. All right, so let's go back to ATAK, and we're going to use the import feature here, and we're going to hit the local SD, and we're going to hit the icon full left as the phone. We want to go to, although it says SD card, it's going into the phone's internal memory. We're going to go down to download folder. We're going to hit the date here, and it's going to bring up all the latest things you've downloaded. So this public safety icon set, this ADSB3 server, the XRI ATAK server, and the EGP server. And we're going to hit OK, and now it's going to bring all of this stuff in. And now as you notice, ATAK users starting to populate on the map. You're going to start seeing aircraft show up. On the map, and now you can see this special icons we have. You can see this San Marino County Sheriff's has the rescue icon for this helicopter. One way to check server connections that you have is go to overflow menu, go to settings, hit your network preferences, server connections, and you can see all these different ATAK servers you're connected to right now. Keep in mind, if you're connected to the EGP ATAK server, the XRI ATAK server, you're sharing your location. The ADSB server is input only. All right, so now that we have the servers connected and we've got this custom symbology, now we want to change add some map elements. So I mentioned the Google Drive I've got set up at maps.takserver.us. We'll go to that server or that Google Drive and download and import some map data. So I'm going to go back to Google Drive, and I'm going to go to on my end it's called ATAK mapping. And so you first log into it, you'll see data. We'll go back to the root folder, you can see all the stuff I have in it. ATAK mapping. So when you if you go through a browser and go to maps.takserver.us, you'll see all this ATAK mapping, this FTP folder, training, video, and the user guide. The training has got a lot of PowerPoints in here on how to use the tools in here. Very detailed PowerPoints. We're going to go to ATAK mapping, we're going to go to data, and we're going to download. First, we're going to start with maps. We'll go to web maps. And I've got a couple styles of maps for you. I've got the USDA Forest Service topos. Now these are web maps. They're going to go out to the internet and download, just like if you use Google Maps on your phone. These Google Train, Google Hybrid, Google Street, where they say no POI, there's no points of interest, so it's not going to show up Papa John's Pizza or McDonald's on the map. The Google Map sources here, this one zip has got all of these three styles with the points of interest. So we'll start with this Google Terrain. We'll download that. Download Google Hybrid, no POI. and Google Street. And we'll do the US Forest Service topo as well. So we got those. I've also got US Forest Service Region 5 rec maps. We're not going to download all that stuff. We'll do some streeting data as well. We're going to download the alert wildfire cams. And let's download the fire risk perimeters from the aircraft. You can see I have a bunch of other data in here too, and the Wi-Fi models. Yeah, be sure when you're here you go into the folder and then download the zip, not the folder. I catch myself doing that all the time. And last but not least, DTED. This is the digital terrain elevation data. You can download these. They're pretty large files, like a gig. You would do the same thing, download it. I already have it on my device for sake of speed for this video, but I've got Montana, Nevada, Utah, pretty much most of the West Coast on here, or Western United States. All right, so now I've got all the data that I want downloaded on my device. I'm gonna hit the app switcher and go back to ATAK. Now I'm gonna use the import manager, local SD, hit that date, and now you can see all the different stuff I just downloaded. So we'll download the Wi-Fi zip, the fire risk, the alert wildfire cams, the US Forest Service topo, and then different Google Maps. Hit OK. And ATAK's going to start importing that stuff. We're going to go to the map icon up here on the toolbar. Notice these hints. They're going to show up for the first time. If you want them to show up every time, you can unclick this checkbox. It's checked by default saying, hey, you don't want to see this helpful hint every time. If I go to mobile, now you can see I've got the Google Hybrid. I can click on that, and I've got the Google Hybrid map where I've got the imagery plus the street names. You can notice now all of these cameras, these are all the alert wildfire cameras all over that are from the network. If you want to play one, you just go on, click on, we'll go to Heaps Peak. That's up at the San Bernardino National Forest. I click on it. It says there's two cameras. I pick on one, click on one, Heaps Peak one. I hit the play button. It's going to reach out to the server and start playing the video. It's going to be clips every 10 seconds. So you have to give it a sec. If you go to my PowerPoint, it's going to show you how to set the field of view on this as well. I've got that in pretty good detail on how to get that set up. Now this comes in as a data package. So if you're worried about, all these cameras cluttering your map, you can go to data package and just hit where it says alert wildfire. Just hit this little eyeball. That'll all go away. The other thing that we're going to bring in, other streaming data, is going to be in the layers area. It's this icon on the far left of the toolbar. These three stacks of papers in your layers. You're going to scroll down to remote resources. You can see we have two items in there already. That's the fire risk and the Wi-Fi. If you hit the little pencil, it shows that I already have the auto refresh set to 120. And I don't want it to remove local content upon shutdown. So in case my battery fails and I fire it back up, the fire perimeters will still be there, even if I'm not connected to the internet. To get them to start streaming, you hit this little download arrow, stream, and now you notice I'll start getting these fire perimeters. And here's the one from the sheep fire that was up in Wrightwood a couple weeks ago. If I want them to go away, I can just turn the eyeball. Every 120 seconds, though, that's going to get turned back on. If I permanently want them gone, I need to turn off the auto refresh. Same goes for the Wi-Fi. I can start streaming it. and then you'll have fire models. I know they cleaned up a bunch the other day, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see any right away. Oh, here's a model right here. So our fire model. And you can get some metadata off this. If you click on it, you can get metadata off the models and off the perimeters. All right, one thing I want to show you right here is this little sidebar. I'm turning back and forth. If you see that clicking out there, that means you have a tool open. If you hit the back button, eventually they'll all go away. All right, the other thing that ATAK has is pretty neat is digital terrain elevation data. They're putting that in 3D. A PowerPoint on the tool shows how to manipulate it, but we're going to import the 3D data. So we're going to go back to the import manager, local SD, and I'm going to scroll down here and find it. It's alphabetical, so it'll be CA. There's my CA DTED. I've done it a couple times, so it's got a CA DTED 2, DTED 1. So they're just duplicates. You can see it's 705 megabytes. Hit OK, and it's going to ask me, how do I bring it in? I want to bring it in as a zip DTED directory. And now that'll allow me to put ATAK into a 3D mode. You can try to do it in 3D mode. It won't stop you without the DTED data, but it won't render very well. ATAK comes with default ZTED 0, which is pretty low. This is DTED 2, which is pretty high fidelity. All right, last but not least is one setting that I recommend everybody do. The cool thing about ATAK is you can send shapes and markers to people. So if I drop a shape here on this map, and I've got it here, now I'm like, hey, I want to send it to somebody. It's a point of interest. And I click this little marker here, and I cover all of this in that PowerPoint I mentioned, training PowerPoint. But you see this auto send here lower right. So if I hit send, I can send it to individuals, I can send it to groups, I can hit broadcast, goes to everybody. But the auto send keeps this going in the ATAK server. So even if I delete it, that just keeps sending at whatever interval it is. There's some way in ATAK to disable that function, and I recommend everybody do it. Another thing I want to mention too is you can configure this device perfectly the way you want it and almost like clone it. You can save a pref file out of ATAK and share it with your department or agency or team members so all devices are set up the same. So you can make it so as soon as they onboarded ATAK, brought that pref file in, that auto send would automatically be gone. Your toolbar would be set up any special way you want it. So let's get rid of that auto send. Let's go to settings. We're going to search for digital, and then you can see right at digital, I want the digital pointer toolbar preferences, that second one down, and I want to go to this automatically broadcast a marker, and I want to send it to 0. Right now it's set at 60, so every 60 seconds it's going to fire off that marker if I hit auto send. All right, I did that. And now, if I try to send this marker, auto send is gone. So that's one thing I really recommend everybody do is get rid of that setting. All right, so this concludes the kind of basic onboarding of ATAK. We've covered firing it up, bringing a couple server certificates on, bringing some basic mapping elements on. Again, much more training and other mapping elements at the Google Drive, which is at maps.takserver.us. Hope this is helpful.